There's a bit of controversy over how to actually strengthen our core. Now, we did a post earlier in the year where I shared a story about my 6-year-old daughter's ballet class. There was a substitute teacher and she filled this class with cues like hide what you've had for lunch, always holding your belly throughout the whole class. And I found it so frustrating because these cues are really outdated and we know so much more now. And there are much better ways for those girls to have connected with their cores. Now, the comments on this post, they were very divided. Some people agreeing that the cues were not good and others saying that this is the only way to engage the core. Well, it's not. So this is why I'm sharing this video today, because we know so much more about the core now than we have done in the past, and there are a bunch of cues that could not be efficient and could be actually wreaking havoc with your core. And it's the reason why so many ballerinas and gymnasts we have spoken to have issues like incontinence and overactive pelvic floors. If you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Hannah. I'm a yoga teacher trainer, and our mission at Alba Yoga is to help spread science-based ways to help you move and live better. Please subscribe if you like this video, as it helps us to grow our channel, allowing us to make better videos for you all. So let's start with a brief overview of how the core works. The deep core operates as a coordinated pressure system, and it involves the diaphragm, the pelvic floor, the transverse abdominis, and the multifidus muscles. They work together as a team. And it's really important that we understand this part, as it explains why engaging your core all damn day is not a good idea. Let's start with the diaphragm, the primary muscle of respiration located at the base of the rib cage. The diaphragm separates our torso into the thoracic cavity, everything above it, and the abdominal cavity, everything below it. When we inhale, the diaphragm contracts and moves downwards, increasing the volume of our thoracic cavity and decreasing the volume of our abdominal cavity, causing an increase in intra-abdominal pressure. Side note, intra-abdominal pressure is the pressure within this abdominal cavity, and it's essential for stabilizing the spine and maintaining core stability during various activities. Next up is the pelvic floor, located at the base of the pelvis, a little bit like a hammock. And these muscles are really important because they support our pelvic organs and contribute to continence. When the diaphragm moves downwards during inhalation, the pelvic floor muscles respond by lengthening or relaxing slightly to accommodate that increased intra-abdominal pressure. Thirdly, we have the transverse abdominis. This acts like a corset, wrapping around the torso and providing stability. It engages to help manage that intra-abdominal pressure and stabilize the spine. Last up is the multifidus, and these small, deep spinal muscles run along the vertebrae of the spine, providing stability to the spine, and they engage to maintain spinal alignment and that stability. Now, the coordinated effort among the diaphragm, the pelvic floor, the TA, and the multifidus creates a stable, pressurized core that facilitates effective force transmission during movements and reduces the risk of injury. Engaging the core and lifting the pelvic floor all the time is a terrible idea because it disrupts the natural balance and coordination of the deep core muscles, leading to excessive tension and fatigue. Constant engagement can prevent the diaphragm and the pelvic floor from functioning properly, hindering their ability to manage that intra-abdominal pressure effectively. Now, this chronic tension can result in decreased respiratory efficiency, impaired movement patterns, and potential pelvic floor dysfunctions such as continence or pelvic pain. Proper core function requires a dynamic balance of contraction and relaxation, allowing the muscles to respond appropriately to varying levels of activity and pressure changes. One of our good friends is a lady called Claire Bourne, and she's an incredible women's health physio. We have had many conversations with her about this exact issue. And interestingly, Claire has previously explained to us that when she sees women in her clinic with issues such as prolapse and incontinence, the first thing she always teaches them is how to properly relax the pelvic floor. This may seem counterintuitive, as we may think that the pelvic floor needs strengthening, and it does, but actually a lot of us do not know how to fully relax our pelvic floor, and we can't properly strengthen a tight muscle. Side note, if you'd like a class to help relax your pelvic floor, check out this short flow here, which has been life-changing for some of my students. So what does this actually mean? Now, we want our cores to work reflexively. What that means is they turn on when we want them to turn on, and they turn on to the level that we need them to turn on. Now, maybe in your yoga classes, you've heard Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, use it the whole of your yoga class, or you've heard your teacher go, engage your core, don't let it go, don't let it go, just like my 6-year-old in that ballet class. But no, as I explained before, we need these muscles to work as a team, and we want them to turn on without us really having to think about it. I always use the example of, imagine you have a little kid running towards you and they jump into your arms. As they jump into your arms, you don't want to be thinking, okay, draw navel to spine, lift the pelvic floor, ribs draw in. You just want it to happen reflexively without you thinking about it. So yes, you're thinking that's all well and good, but how do we actually do this in our yoga practice? Now we start with the breath. The breath is key. I told you the diaphragm, it's one of our main breathing muscles and it's part of our deep core. And we start with diaphragmatic breathing. Now, one way of doing this is by coming to a lying position or sitting down with a nice long spine. You're going to place your hands on your belly for feedback. Inhale through your nose, and as you inhale, you're going to feel that belly gently expanding into your hands. As you exhale, you're going to exhale through pursed lips and feel your belly gently and naturally release back to center. You continue this pattern for 10 rounds, focusing on smooth, deep breaths. And you can do this daily. You can do this a couple of times a day. Not only is it going to benefit your core, but it also improves oxygen exchange, can reduce stress, can lower blood pressure, improve energy levels, and so much more. From here, with the breathing working better and the pressure system working better, we come to mindfulness. Mindfulness, as we need to be conscious about any habits that we may have picked up. For example, this constant pressure to engage our core or to suck our bellies in. Can you keep checking in during your yoga practice and during your day? Notice if you are bracing or clinging to your core and actively let it go. Now, this doesn't mean that we aren't using our core. That's not what we're saying at all. We need our core. We need it to be strong. But it means that we are getting our core to work better and therefore be stronger as a result. Now, something that can be really helpful is to think of different ways to cue the core rather than that suck the belly in, which isn't effective. And a really good way is using something called external cues. Let me give you an example. You are going to come up to a standing position wherever you are now, and we're going to come into Tadasana or mountain pose, where you're standing at the top of the yoga mat or you're just standing on the ground. You are going to draw your belly in. You're going to draw your ribs in. You're going to squeeze your bum. You're going to energize through your legs, energize through your hands, and you're going to notice, how does that feel in my body? Take a breath. How does my breathing feel? Okay, relax. Have a little wiggle. You're going to come to that standing position again. Feel nice and relaxed. And all I want you to do this time is to grow your head tall towards the ceiling and push your feet really firmly into the floor. Take a breath. Notice how your body feels. Notice how your breath feels. Now, what you probably notice is the first time, yes, you probably felt everything being strong and engaged, but we didn't need that level of activation. And actually the second time, you realize that everything turns on that we were focusing on before. These muscles turn on, but to the right degree. And I bet you that your breath felt better that second way than the first way. The other example that we can do is come into plank pose. A really good external cue in plank is to imagine you have a heavy weight on your back and you're resisting against it. Again, you can imagine you're trying to push your hands through the floor. Grow your head away from you. Now, if you're watching this thinking, my plank always looks a bit like a hammock, it's sinking or it's causing me pain, try coming into it, imagining that heavy weight, resisting against it, again, pushing your hands through the floor, growing your head away. And if you're still struggling, I invite you to drop your knees. The closer your knees are to your hands, the easier it gets, so you can walk them in or you can walk them further away. Over time, you're going to increase the intensity by bringing the knees away. Finally, maybe lifting those knees off the floor. But we need to remember that we have to build up core strength bit by bit. Just like if you were trying to build up your biceps, you'd never walk into a gym, grab a 20-kilogram dumbbell and try and lift it as a starting point because your poor muscle, it wouldn't be able to cope. Think of your core in exactly the same way. And don't forget the breath. Notice how in my plank, my core is working, but you can still see my belly move with my breath as the diaphragm descends on the inhale. 2 last things to leave you with. Firstly, if you're interested to hear the research that backs up what I'm saying, check out the link in this caption where we are sharing a free core research PDF with you all. Secondly, try out these videos, which are efficient and effective ways to strengthen your core. Now, drop us a comment if you enjoyed this video and if you'd like to learn more about the core.